It's Saturday, the 25th of February, 2023. This is our first video roundup of the Fringe this year. Ekkia Evans, hello.
Hi, Steve.
We've both been out, you've been out a lot more than I have in reviewing Fringe. I've started doing it with my show that opened last night, which is 100% MBA success, Professor Longsword. And so that's off and running. So I'll do a little bit more reviewing this week, but you're carrying the load.
Yes.
And I suppose before we go to your first one, because you've got four, I've got a couple to talk about. I should just mention that we have weighed into the discussion within the Fringe community about the fact that there are companies charging artists to be reviewed. Some have said they do it, but it doesn't color their review. And others were just waiting to get more details on. But yeah, that post has exploded somewhat. I thought I should just double check, Ekkia. I'm not paying you anything, am I?
No.
And the artists aren't, are they?
No, not at all.
All right.
No. I do this for the love of it.
Yes, exactly. Now, take that love to the first of our shows, and this one is closure at a self-serve checkout. Tell us a little bit about this, and then of course everyone can go along and have a look at the full review and then buy tickets if they're still available.
So this is Bobby Vinnie's debut Fringe show. She's an up-and-coming actress. Hasn't done I think this is her first thing that she's done for herself, but it's a comedy cabaret show, which sort of revolves around her past relationship with a fuckboy. Excuse the language, but yes, she sort of bears her heart to the masses with like a vulnerability that's just saturated with humor. She's got a really unique voice, and it's a really enjoyable show. There's only one left at the Howling Owl tonight before she goes over to Murray Bridge to do a few shows out there.
All right, it's good to see the Fringe getting out, as it always does, certainly the last few years out in the regions. So that sounds intriguing. Does she check whether you've brought your own bags to the show?
No.
Okay. The next one is Hear My Voice, and this is one I went to see. Alexandra Frost is the singer. You mentioned vulnerability before. Plenty of vulnerability in this show. It's a cabaret show. Alexandra was born with a voice in a lower register than most females have, and had a complicated relationship with her voice over the years, often being misgendered, especially in telephone calls, but also face-to-face from time to time. But as can happen, as we learn from a lot of fairy tales, sometimes that odd thing, inverted commas, turns out to be an amazing gift in a different way. And her voice, when she sings, it's like, I don't know, you remember those Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate ads where thick, gooey chocolate would pour together? Her voice is just like that. It is amazing, but it's got this huge range. It's got to be heard to believe. She's only got one show left, and that's on Sunday, which would be the 26th, 3 p.m. at Nexus Arts Venue. The review is on our site, but Hear My Voice. She talks about the journey with her voice, and she uses her voice to chart the whole journey. There were tears, plenty of laughter, a standing ovation for crying out loud. So good show. Next one on the list is, talking of good, The Good Immigrant.
Yes, The Good Immigrant. Now, this one's by CJ Productions, which is a relatively new theatre sort of company here in Adelaide. And I really think they brought something a bit new and interesting to the Fringe. So the show is sort of surrounding the character of Happy, who's an Indian immigrant who's come to Australia. And it's a really witty blending of cultures with a really insightful exploration of racism. And the writer, producer / lead performer, CJ Singh, created the story with inspiration from actual events. So he met this guy who was complaining about an untouchable. which is the people were considered inferior according to the Indian caste hierarchy system.
Yep.
And then later on, this same man then complained about getting racist comments for himself and being like defamed, basically, and the sort of hypocrisy of that. And so he sort of modeled Happy's character around that and sort of the journey that he goes through in Australia.
Intriguing.
Yeah,
All right.
there's 2 shows left at Star Theatres this weekend.
George Glass, the musical, talking about being inspired by real events, Bradbury, the musical.
Yes.
What was that like?
That
were people falling over themselves to get in?
I'd say so. It was honestly such an incredible show. Obviously, it's based around Stephen Bradbury, who's the Winter Olympian, I do believe Australia's first gold medalist. Who, for those who don't know, Stephen Bradbury is the man who won a speed skating race because all of his other competitors fell down, and he just glided through to victory. And George Glass are an Adelaide art rock band, and they're really known for their high energy comedy driven music, and they really deliver. It's an absolutely hilarious musical, and unlike what you usually get, these guys are playing their instruments live and also acting out some things with guest stars Tony Hawk and Tonya Harding alongside Stephen Bradbury, who apparently the actual Stephen Bradbury is coming to see the show this Fringe.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. But it's they've got a whole bunch of performances left until March 11th. Mostly at Arthur Art Bar, but they do have some events elsewhere.
Okay. All right, so it's Bradbury the musical. I went to see Amplify, and it's got 2 shows left this afternoon, which are both sold out. So this is just for the public record. This is a show put on by No Strings Attached Theatre of Disability. It's 3 shows within the one program called Amplify. A couple of them really fascinating. National Assistance Agency is this mythical fake institution, a bit like perhaps the NDIS. And they have this setup where these of the cast of 31 disabled actors they've got, almost all of them seem to be in this first one. They gradually come in to get help from the National Assistance Agency, get told to fill in a form and sit down, and then lo and behold, many of them get rejected, and the weirdest ones get it. It's just the indifference of bureaucracy is just fascinating, especially when the receptionist rejects them and says, nah. So that's what the National Assistance Agency stands for, all devised by the cast. So it's from their experiences in trying to navigate support services in the world. The middle one, Ideal Town, is a great premise. There's a little town in South Australia, a remote town, that has for 50 years escaped being within any electoral boundaries. It's just a quirk of nature. Canberra's just discovered it, and politicians are descending on the town to woo voters. And again, great self-devised work, which was put together over a couple of years, during which time there were a couple of elections that took place. Excellent. And then Commedia dell'arte, which is an old form of theatre from Italy in the 1500s, thereabouts, and just after that, they take a stab at doing one of those sorts of production, which is fascinating, very challenging, and one that I think modern audiences, we had to really focus, because there are different techniques and protocols within Commedia dell'arte. And but they got us. The director of that particular piece had some Corinna De Niro, some beautiful, helpful commentary in the program to help us navigate it, because we're not exposed to that form of theatre very often, and sometimes very structured, specific theatre like that, you need a little bit of a helping hand through. So Amplify, excellent work, and pretty bold work with the topics they were touching on. And our last one for today, wait for it. I Know the End.
Yes, I Know the End, which is by Alex Kuypers, who's the creator, choreographer, and the composer. So he did all the sound as well for the show. This is his debut Fringe show as well. It's basically a contemporary dance theatre work. It's not really something I'm super familiar with, but it was an absolutely incredible experience. And Alex really wanted to demystify the experience of contemporary dance for like audiences who don't really know how to engage with that, because that can be quite an art style that sort of common audiences don't really know how to interpret. It can be a really individualized sort of experience. And he created a really unique, like immersive experience. Like you're asked as the audience to sort of interact with it, like shine lights and fold some of the sheets, because they've transformed the Goodwood studio into a bedroom, covered it in bed sheets with like a bed in the middle. And the dancers just it was so creative, and they just turned themselves into weird creatures, and it's all like in the unconscious mind of someone who's asleep and looking into the human connection and intimacy and relationships and the idea of growing up queer. And the two dancers, which are Caroline Diwan and Fern Mines, both incredible. And honestly, I think it was a really amazing experience. Definitely a highlight of the Fringe so far for me. And they've only got 3 shows left, 2 today, 1 tomorrow, and then that's it, down at Goodwood Theatre and Studio, which also has some free events happening around it. Like they've got like music and an 80s night tonight, I think, just for free outside of the venue.
I noticed you looked at me when you said that. Ageist, so ageist.
Yeah, but they've got a few of those and a bunch of DJs playing as well, so you can stick around after the show or come in a bit early and have a groove.
Fantastic, baby. Ekkia Evans, thank you for that. We both have some more shows we'll be seeing next week, so we'll get together next Saturday with a quick roundup of those too. You can see all our reviews at theadelaideshow.com.au/reviews. They're all there. Happy fringing.
Yes, happy fringing.